Gold. It is the sun trapped in metal. For 6,000 years it has been the ultimate catalyst of human madness. Men have burned cities to find it, sold their daughters to keep it, and crossed oceans of blood just to touch it. But then, the legions marched into the dark heart of the north. Deep in the rotting marshes of Germania, they found a people who didn't want it. They found warriors who looked at a chest of Roman gold and saw a parasite. They found a culture that didn't just ignore the world's most precious metal, they drowned it. They cast it into the bogs, buried it in the silt, and turned their backs on the very thing that the rest of civilization died to possess. Why? Were they blind to its beauty? Or did they know something about power that we have spent 2,000 years forgetting? Welcome to the world where gold was a curse, and survival was forged in a different kind of fire. Why gold was trash. To the Roman mind, wealth was an abstract number, a promise of future comfort stored in a vault. To the Germanic tribes, wealth was a function. They lived in a reality that was too raw, too immediate, and too lethal for the delusion of currency. In the deep woods, a gold coin is nothing more than a very small, very soft rock that offers no heat and cuts no wood. The weight of cowardice. Gold is inherently weak. You cannot forge a sword from it that won't bend in the first clash of shields. You cannot tip a spear with it that won't blunt against the leather hide. To the tribes, gold was the metal of the soft people. It was the tool of those who lived behind stone walls and paid other men to bleed for them. If a man walked into a Germanic hall draped in gold, they didn't see a king. They saw a man who couldn't protect his own throat. They saw a man who had traded his calluses and his combat readiness for hollow trinkets. To carry gold was to broadcast to every predator in the forest that you were a prize worth killing, but lacked the steel to stop them. Gold destroys brotherhood. Currency breeds the individual, and in the north, the isolated individual is a corpse. Gold allowed a Roman to survive without his neighbor. He could buy grain, buy guards, and buy a life. But the Germanic tribes understood that the moment a man starts counting his own coins, he stops counting the heartbeat of his brother. They rejected the coin because they knew it eroded the comitatus, the sacred bond of the warband. Gold makes men look downward at their purses. Iron makes men look forward to their enemies. In their world, self-sufficiency through money was a myth. You survived because the man to your left loved you more than he loved his own safety. Before we go any further, look at your life. Tell me in the comments, in a world where gold means nothing, what is the one trait you possess that makes you worth keeping alive? Strength, loyalty, or would you be the first to fall? The unthinkable replacement, the supremacy of iron. For centuries, historians were baffled by the votive offerings found in northern peat bogs. Massive hoards of Roman gold, silver, and jewelry sunk into the black water. It wasn't an accident, and it wasn't a bank. It was a ritualistic execution of greed. They were purging a plague. Because they knew that to survive the coming winter, you didn't need a filled purse. You needed something that can't be stolen, something that can't be inherited, and something that quite literally held the world together. They valued iron. In the modern world, iron is cheap, industrial, and invisible. But to the Germanic tribes, iron was sacred. It was the black gold of the forest. It was a metal that demanded a price in sweat, fire, and blood before it would ever serve you. They didn't mine iron from mountains, they extracted it from the muck. Bog iron was a gift from the spirits of the earth. To extract it required a level of mastery over fire and oxygen that bordered on the occult. When a smith hammered a blade, he wasn't just making a tool, he was locking his intent into the metal. A sword was a piece of the earth itself, refined by the willpower of a man. In Rome, gold decided who was important by birthright or trade. In Germania, iron decided who stayed alive. A farmer with a well-forged iron spear was a match for any king. Iron demanded respect because it demanded work. You cannot find a finished iron blade. It must be hammered, folded, and tempered through fire and agony. It was the physical manifestation of human will. With iron, you were a master of your own destiny. You could fell trees to build a hall that could withstand a century of snow. You could forge a plough to rip life from the stubborn soil. Iron meant you didn't need a merchant's permission to exist. Gold makes you a customer, iron makes you a creator. The three pillars of the tribe. Beyond the metal, they hoarded values that no thief could melt down. This was their true treasury, a bank of the spirit that no Roman legion could ever loot. Number 1. The Humingia, the soul's weight. They believed in a force called Humingia, a blend of luck, ancestral power, and personal merit. It was a spiritual credit score, earned through bravery and integrity. It was the invisible aura that made a leader's men follow him into certain death. A man with gold but no Haminga would drown in a puddle. They spent their lives stacking honor, knowing that this was the only wealth that would cross the bridge of the afterlife with them. Number 2. The blood debt of loyalty. Their bank was the brotherhood. When a chieftain gave a ring to a warrior, it wasn't a paycheck, it was a shackle of honor. That warrior now owed his life to the leader's vision. In return, the leader owed his soul to the protection of the warrior's family. They traded in obligations, not transactions. To be rich was to have 100 men who would die before they let you fail. In this system, you didn't store value in a vault, you stored it in the hearts of your friends. Number 3. The legacy of the skald. They valued the word above the hoard. A gold coin is eventually melted down and stamped with the face of a new, lesser king. But a story? A story is immortal. They lived for the chance to be a single line in a saga sung 1,000 years later. They chose a short, glorious life over a long, wealthy and forgotten one. They knew that fame, the kind earned through blood and sacrifice, was the only thing that could truly defeat time. The brutality of the cold truth. This wasn't a peaceful utopia, it was a meritocracy of the harshest kind. This rejection of gold came with a terrifying price. Utility was the only law. In a world of ice and wolves, there was no room for the useless. The law of the hearth. Every member of the tribe had a role: the weaver, the smith, the scout, the mother. If you consumed more than you produced, you were a threat to the survival of the collective. Gold creates passive wealth, where a man can live off the work of others. The Germanic tribes found this concept repulsive. If you didn't have calluses on your hands or scars on your chest, you had no seat at the table. The outlaw's shadow. If you failed to uphold the values of strength, if you chose greed over the tribe, they didn't just ignore you, they erased you. The punishment was outlawry. You were declared a wolf, meaning you were no longer human. Your family was forbidden from feeding you. Anyone could kill you without penalty. You were stripped of your name and your protection. You became a ghost while your heart was still beating. Without the tribe, you weren't just poor, you were meat for the forest. What have we lost? We have optimized our lives for maximum wealth and minimum friction. We have traded the shield wall for the spreadsheet. We have traded the heavy weight of a real community for the shallow digital validation of a screen. We live in a world where we have everything, yet we possess nothing that would help us survive a week without the system. We have grown soft in our golden cages, confusing having with being. Now, before leaving, tell me in the comments, if the lights went out tonight, if the gold disappeared from your screens, what would you actually be worth? Who would stand beside you in the dark? Do you have the strength of iron or the fragility of a coin? The empire of gold is dust, but the lineage of iron remains. If you value the grit of the survivor and the strength of the loyal, don't leave your sovereignty to chance. Subscribe and join the tribe. Stay unconquered.